cat will start. Relax. It's a given. Hi, guys. We're going to start in about 15, 20 seconds. Not much more than that. I told you. Good evening. It's 7 o'clock here in the northeast of the United States, and this is the Tibet Center, Kunchab Tardu Ling, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in New York City and northern New Jersey. And this is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma, specifically Stages on the Path to Enlightenment, the Lamrim Chenmo of J. Tsong-kha-pa. All the prayers we say are on the website in the FAQ section, whatever housekeeping deals. Any problem with the picture, with the sound, please text me or Mr. Smith. If there's anyone for whom you want us to pray for who has passed away recently, I understand Matthew Ricard's mother has passed away. Jane has alerted us. So put their names in the chat box as soon as possible. I don't see all of them, so if I don't recite their names at the end, it's because I have a very small chat box because the screen is large. But everyone else will see. So tonight, if you want to tag this presentation, we'll be continuing with Words of My Perfect Teacher, Kunsang Lame Jalung by Zapatro Rinpoche. We'll be doing Love and Compassion from his Arousing Bodhicitta chapters. And then we will continue with chapter 14, the Conventional Existence chapter, in the Lamrim Chenmo Volume 3. And let's get started, because it's too late. Prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West, written by the predecessor of the current Shabje Ling Rinpoche. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living here, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase, like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas called profound illumination, and at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind, consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear, they transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed true complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, mahasattva, should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the bodhisattva, mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. And now refuge and bodhisattva vow, which we recite 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. May all the pains of living creatures ripen solely upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. May the teachings which are the sole medicine for suffering and the origin of every joy be materially supported and honored and abide for a very long time. I prostrate to Manjagosha, through whose kindness wholesome minds ensue, and I prostrate to my spiritual masters, through whose kindness I develop. Prayer for the swift return of Rato Chunla Rinpoche, composed by His Holiness, on the website, of course. Exalted wisdom of all victors, gathered in a drop, soul refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lozang Tubuang Dorje Chang, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Losang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening, yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta, drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Losang Tenpei. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. So that is a cat in the background. It's not you hallucinating or anything. So he'll quiet down. If he doesn't, so what? He's debating right now. We continue now with the words of my perfect teacher, the Kunsang Lame Jalung, by Sapatru Rinpoche, in the lineage of Longchenpa, Jigme Lingpa, etc. He was a Nyingma Lama. We discussed last week meditation on impartiality or equanimity, and now meditation on love, which I don't think we did last week. I'll just do quickly on this, and because then we'll do compassion. The compassion one, I'm going to edit out certain things. You could read them if you want. I'll give you the page numbers. It's a little rough, in terms of the way he graphically describes how suffering occurs among animals, and how certain lamas in Tibet who, would take care of their patrons, but then not care at all about the suffering animals, the horses they rode, and everything else. Interesting. Seems like this kind of corruption exists all over the world in all religions, in all times. So as spiritual seekers, we got to seek out good teachers and don't be captivated by them just by their surface appearance. You have to really be careful. So just through meditating on impartiality, you would come to, this is page 198, regard all beings of the three worlds with great love. So he's saying, briefly, pray again and again with these words. Throughout all my lives, may I never harm so much as a single hair on another being's head, and may I always help each of them. So it's particularly important to avoid making anyone under your authority suffer by beating them, forcing them to work too hard, and so on. Again, he's reacting to a society where there was the upper and the lower, and that's it, This applies to your servants and also to your animals, right down to the humblest watchdog. Always, under all circumstances, be kind to them in thought, word, and deed. To be reborn as a servant or as a watchdog for that matter, and to be despised and looked down upon by everyone is the maturation of the effects of past actions. It is the reciprocal effect of having despised and looked down on others while in a position of power in past lives. If you now despise others because of your own power and wealth, you will repay that debt in some future life by being reborn as their servants. So be especially kind to those in lower positions than yourself. Anything you can do physically, verbally, or mentally to help your own parents especially, or those suffering from chronic ill health, will bring inconceivable benefits. Joe Atisha said, and I'm on page 200 now, to be kind to those who have come from afar, travelers, etc., to those who have been ill for a long time, or to your parents in their old age is equivalent to meditating on emptiness, of which compassion is the very essence. Our parents have shown us such, and this is Patrul Rinpoche now, that was Atisha's quote. Patrul Rinpoche explains, our parents have shown us such immense love and kindness that to upset them in their old age would be an extremely negative act, karmically weighty, in other words. The Buddha himself, to repay his mother's kindness, went to the heavens of the 33 to teach her the Dharma. It is said that even if one were to serve our parents by carrying them around the world on our shoulders, it would still not repay their kindness. However, we can repay their kindness by introducing them to the Buddha's teachings. So always serve your parents in thought, word, and deed, and try to find ways to bring them to the Dharma. You can at least show them an image of the Buddha, a picture of Dalai Lama, whatever. They're not, most people are into Buddhist stuff, I don't know. Well, let them see the picture, let them get an inclination. I brought my parents in 91 to see the Kalachakra Mandala in the morning, and they saw His Holiness doing his prep, etc. And my father was interested. My mother was very more interested in Richard Gere, who was there. Anyway, it's the way it is. The great master of Odayana said, do not make old people distressed. Look after them with care and respect. In whatever you say and do, be kind to all of those older than you. Take care of them and do whatever you can to please them. Nowadays, most people say that there is no way to get on in the samsaric world without harming others, but this is not true. Long ago in Khotan, 2 novices were meditating on the sublime Manjushri, novice monks or whatever. This is very interesting. He tells a lot of stories in this book, so it's very helpful. They were meditating on the sublime Manjushri. One day he appeared to them and said, there is no karmic link between you and me. The deity with whom you have had a connection in your past lives is the great Avalokiteshvara. He is at present to be found in Tibet, over which he rules as a king. You should go there and see him. All right? When the 2 novices arrived in Tibet and went within the walls of Lhasa, they could see that a large number of people had been executed or imprisoned. They asked what was going on. Those are punishments ordered by the king, they were told. This king is most certainly not Avalokiteshvara, they said to themselves, and fearing that they might well be punished too, they decided to run away. The king knew that they were leaving and sent a messenger after them, summoning them to his presence. Do not be afraid, he told them. Tibet is a wild land, hard to subjugate. For that reason, I've had to produce the illusion of prisoners being executed, dismembered, and so on. But in reality, I have not harmed a single hair on anyone's head. Now, this is Avalokiteshvara in business with all the power. That king was the ruler of Tibet, the land of snows, and brought kings in all four directions under his power. He vanquished invading armies and kept peace along the frontiers. Although he was obliged to conquer enemies and defend his subjects on such a vast scale, he managed to do so without harming so much as a hair on a single being's head. How could it not be possible then for us, therefore, to avoid harming others as we look after our own tiny dwellings, which by comparison are no bigger than insects' nests? Harming others brings no harm in return. It just creates endless suffering for this life and the next. No good can ever come of it, even in the things of this life. No one ever gets rich from murder, theft, or whatever it might be. They only end up paying the penalty and losing all their money and possessions in the process. If not now, in the next life. You don't get away with it. The image given for boundless love is a mother bird taking care of her chicks. She starts by making a soft, comfortable nest. He's giving you a visualization to do. And she shelters them with her wings, keeping them warm. She is always gentle with them, and she protects them until they can fly away. Like that mother bird, learn to be kind in thought, word, and deed to all beings in the three worlds. So now the artillery comes out. Meditation on compassion. And again, I said there's certain passages where he's talking about the hells and animals being suffering. We'll edit a little because you'll get carried away. You'll be very upset. However, Words of My Perfect Teacher, this book, page 201 on, the next 4 or 5 pages after that, you can read it yourself. Also, I'm editing it because it would take too much time. Anyway, the meditation on compassion is to imagine beings being tormented by cruel suffering and to wish them to be free from it. You're going to imagine cruelty on beings and everything. Will that make me depressed? This is different. First of all, it's done with the purpose of developing your own compassion so that you can become a Buddha and help it. Secondly, it's by choice. It's not the sufferings that you walk into in life. So bear that in mind. That will give you more strength. As it is said, think of someone in immense torment, a person cast into the deepest dungeon awaiting execution, or an animal standing before the butcher about to be slaughtered. Feel love towards that being as if it were your own mother or child. So you do these little scenarios. Imagine a prisoner condemned to death by the ruler and being led to the place of execution, or a sheep being caught and tied up by the butcher. When you think of a condemned prisoner, instead of thinking of that suffering person as someone else, imagine that it is you. Ask yourself, page 202, what would you do in that situation? What now? There's nowhere for you to run, nowhere to hide, no refuge and no one to protect you. You have no means of escape. You cannot fly away. You have no strength, no army to defend you now. At this very moment, all the perceptions of this life are about to cease. You will even have to leave behind your own dear body that you have sustained with so much care and set out for the next life. What anguish! Train your mind by taking the suffering of that condemned prisoner upon yourself. It's only imagination, but train the mind to do this. And when you think of a sheep being led to slaughter, do not think of it just as a sheep. Instead, feel sincerely that this is your own old mother that they're about to kill, and ask yourself, what would you do in such a situation? What are you going to do now that they are going to kill your old mother, even though she has done no harm? Experience in the depths of your heart the kind of suffering that your mother must be going through. When your heart is bursting with the desire to do something right away to prevent your old mother from being butchered on the spot, reflect that although this suffering creature is not actually your father or mother in this present life, it is sure to have been your parent at some time in your past lives. So there is no real difference. They think this way, sincerely. Alas, for your poor parents who are suffering so much. If only they could be free from their distress right now, without delay, this very instant. With these thoughts in your heart, meditate with unbearable compassion that your eyes fill with tears. You bring it in emotionally. Your whole being is drenched in this idea. This is imprinting your mind. It goes down deep, and it starts to inform your daily actions. And it also brings you closer to Buddhahood. So, well, it's not pleasant. Well, come on. There's much more unpleasant things. So when your compassion is aroused, Think how all this suffering is the effect of harmful actions committed in the past. You're doing something about it. All those poor beings now indulging in harmful actions will eventually, inevitably have to suffer too. Think of our friend Vladimir. Think of all these dictators that kill people. They're getting away with anything. With this in mind, meditate with compassion on all beings who are creating causes of suffering for themselves by killing and other harmful actions. Then consider the sufferings of beings being born in the hells, among the pretas and other realms of torment. Identify with them as if they were your parents or yourself and meditate on compassion with great energy. You got to get into it. That's how you change. Finally, reflect deeply upon all beings in the three worlds. Wherever there is space, there are beings. Wherever there are beings, there are negative actions and the resulting sufferings. Poor beings involved only in all that negative action and suffering. How wonderful it would be if each individual being of the six realms could be free from all the perceptions brought about by past actions, all those sufferings and negative tendencies, and attain everlasting happiness of perfect Buddhahood. You're doing both. In other words, you're also inculcating in your mind that there is a way out. It's not just terrible suffering and all this, and I have to do. You can bring them to Buddhahood. Things can change. A lot is in these statements. When you start meditating, bottom of 202, last two lines, when you start meditating on compassion, it is important to focus first on suffering beings individually, one at a time. Not the generic, oh yeah, they're suffering. And only then to train yourself step by step until you can meditate on all beings as a whole. Otherwise, your compassion will be vague and intellectual. It will not be the real thing. That's a big tip. Make it personal, one at a time. It takes too long. Yeah, good. It's supposed to take long. You're not wasting it. This is the best thing you can do in this life. Never mind fixing the window or whatever. So, page 203, reflect particularly on the sufferings and hardships of your own cattle, sheep, pack horses. Well, we don't have this. This is cultural, so we'll skip this one. He talks about yaks having their hairs pulled so blood comes out, and they mix that blood with to make blood sauces in Tibet. They were very cruel. I'm going to leave a lot of that out because you'll throw up. I mean, I almost did. And I have a strong cast iron stomach. We cannot stand having a blister on our hand. Think of all the sufferings you give to animals. We can't stand the littlest thing. Sometimes when our backsides hurt from traveling on horseback, well, we don't travel on horseback. Well, you can ride on the bus or whatever. And we can no longer sit in the saddle, have to ride side saddle instead. But it never occurs to us that the horse might be weary or suffering. When it can no longer go on and it stumbles, panting for breath, we still think that it's just being stubborn. We lose our temper and thrash it without a moment's sympathy. Come on, move. And then you start think of a sheep being slaughtered, etc. He doesn't want to die. The sheep were suffocated in Tibet, and if they didn't die, then they hit them with clubs. It was not a happy place, except for the Dharma. You also had live animal sacrifices among the Bampos of Tibet, and he mentioned that here. I'm not going to go into that, but it's really disgusting. So, hardly is the sheep dead than it is already being skinned and gutted. At the same time, another beast is being bled till it cannot walk straight. The blood of the dead animal is mixed with the blood of the living one, and the mixture is cooked up as sausages in the entrails of the one already disemboweled. Anyone who could eat such things afterwards must be a cannibal. He's yelling at the culture of Tibet at the time. He's not afraid to come out and criticize high lamas, etc., which we'll read those parts. Think of those suffering of these animals. Cover your mouth with your hands and stop yourself breathing. Stay there like that for a while. Experience the pain and panic. When you have really seen what it is like, think again and again how sad it is that all these beings are afflicted by such terrible sufferings without a moment's respite. If only you had the power to give them refuge from all these sufferings. So it's the thing of softening your heart and motivating you at the same time. Lamas and monks, now he's going to let them have it. Here comes the lamas and monks of Tibet getting handed. This guy is the real deal. So lamas and monks are the people who are supposed to have the most compassion, but they have none at all. I like this guy. They are worse than householders when it comes to making beings suffer. This is a sign that the era of the Buddhist teaching is really approaching its end. We have reached the time when flesh-eating demons and ogresses are given all the honors. In the past, Our teacher Shakyamuni rejected the kingdom of a universal monarch as though it was so much dust, so much spit in the dust, and became a renunciate. So there's a story about that. Chakravartin, the universal king, he had the merit for that. No, became a renunciate. With his Arhat followers, he went on foot begging for arms, bowl and staff in hand. Not only did they do without pack horses and mules, but even the Buddha himself had no mount to ride. That was because he felt that to make another being suffer was not the way of the Buddhist teachings. Could the Buddha really not have been resourceful enough to find himself an old horse to ride? It was deliberate. Our own venerables, however, as they set out for a village ceremony, push a piece of rough wire through the ring hole gouged in their yak's muzzle. Once they are hoisted in the saddle, they pull with both hands as hard as they can on the yak hair cord, which digs into the animal's nostril, causing unbearable pain and making the poor creature rear and plunge. So the rider, with all his strength, whacks it with his whip. Unable to stand this new pain on its flanks, it starts to run, but it is pulled up again by the nose. The pain in its nostrils is now so unbearable that it stops in its tracks and has to be whipped again. He's seen all this, and he really speaks out against it. Good for him. A tug in front, a whack behind, until soon the animal is aching and exhausted. Sweat drips from every hair of its tongue, and its tongue hangs out. Its breath rasps, and it can no longer go on. They complain, what's the matter with him? Nah, he doesn't want to work. So imagine yourself in that position of the animal. I won't go through more of this because he really gets graphic. Normally, what we call lamas and monks ought to be a refuge and a help, impartial protectors and guides of all beings. But in fact, they favor their patrons, the one who give them food and drink, and make offerings to them. They pray that those particular individuals may be sheltered and protected. They give them empowerments and blessings, and all the while they are ganging up to cast out all the pretas and mischievous spirits whose evil rebirth is the result of their unfortunate karma. The lamas performing such ceremonies work themselves into a fury, making beating gestures, intoning, kill, kill, strike, strike. Now, surely, if anyone takes harmful spirits as something to be killed or beaten, it must be because his mind is under the power of attachment and hatred. He's letting them, and he has never given rise to vast, impartial compassion. When you think about it carefully, those malignant spirits are far more in need of compassion than any benefactors. They have become harmful spirits because of their evil karma, reborn as pretas or hungry ghosts. Their horrible bodies, their pain and fear is unimaginable. They experience nothing but hunger, thirst, and exhaustion, and frustration, etc., and fear. We can go on with that. They perceive everything as threatening. As their minds are full of hate and aggression, many go to hell as soon as they die. Who can deserve more pity? The patrons may be sick and suffering, but that will help them to exhaust their evil karma, not to create more. Those evil spirits, on the other hand, are harming others with their evil intentions and will be hurled by those harmful actions to the depths of the lower realms. If the conqueror, skilled in means and full of compassion, the Buddha in other words, taught the art of exercising or intimidating those harmful spirits with violent methods, it was out of compassion for them, like a mother spanking a child who will not obey. He also permitted the ritual of liberation to be practiced by those who have the power to interrupt the flow of evil deeds of beings who do only harm and to transfer their consciousness to a pure realm. Those teachings exist. I think they exist today, and there are probably lamas who could do it, but be high up there. Beginners, we can't do that now. But as for pandering to benefactors, monks, and others that we consider to be on our own side, and rejecting demons and wrongdoers as hateful enemies, protecting the one and attacking the other out of attachment and hatred, were such attitudes what the conqueror taught? As long as we are driven by such feelings of attachment and hatred, it will be futile to try to expel or attack any harmful spirits. Their bodies are only mental, and they will not obey us anyway. They will only do harm in return. Indeed, not to speak of desire and hate, so long as we even believe that such gods and spirits really exist and want them to go away, we will never subdue them. Now he tells a nice story about Milarepa. When Jetson Miller was living in the Garuda Fortress Cave in the Chang Valley, the king of obstacle makers, Vinayaka, produced a supernatural illusion. In his cave, Jetson Miller found 5 ashtaras, That's a corruption of the word Atsara, which is a Sanskrit karya. So these Astaras are like apparitions taking the form of Indian ascetics. Oh, Indian ascetics are here. They say, with eyes the size of saucers. He got scared. He prayed to his teacher and to his yiram, but the demons did not go away. He meditated on the visualization of his deity and recited wrathful mantras, but they still would not go. Finally, he thought, Marper of Lodrak, his teacher, showed me that everything in the universe is mind, and that the nature of mind is empty and radiant. To believe in these demons as obstacle makers as something external and to want them to go away has no meaning. This applies to us now. Everything's the mind. We have to think this way. Feeling powerful confidence in the view that knows spirits and demons to be simply one's own perceptions, he strode back into his cave. Terrified and rolling their eyes, the Astaras disappeared. This is also what the ogress of the rock meant. The ogress of the rock, live on our stage. When she sang to him, this is part of the stories, this demoness is saying, this demon of your own tendencies arises from your mind. If you don't recognize the nature of your mind, I'm not going to leave just because you tell me to go. If you don't realize that your mind is void, there are many more demons beside myself. But if you recognize the nature of your own mind, adverse circumstances will serve only to sustain you. And even I, Ogress of the Rock, will be at your bidding. No. This is daily advice we should think about. How, then, instead of having confidence in the view that recognizes all spirits and demons as being one's own mind, could we subjugate them by getting angry? What's the use? It's not going to work. You're getting angry at your own projections. Hello? Stop the projections. Realize them for what they are. When clerics visit their patrons, they happily eat all the sheep that they have been killed and served to them without the least hesitation. He's letting them have it again. This guy gets a hand of applause from me. When they perform special rituals to make offerings to the protectors, they claim that clean meat is needed as an ingredient. For them, this means the still bleeding flesh of a freshly killed animal, and I won't go on more from here, which they decorate all the tormings with their offerings, etc. He's saying these are Banpo rites left over from shamanistic times. They have no place in the Buddha Dharma. I'll just digest it to that. There's a text, he said, a lot of secret mantra Vajrayanas say. For those of you who have tantric empowerments, you might have heard that whatever we have done to upset the Sima and Trauma, those are symbolic deities of the mandala. By not gathering offerings of flesh and blood, according to the text, we beg the dakinis of the sacred places to forgive us. Now here, gathering offerings of flesh and blood, according to the texts, means to gather them as explained in the tantric text of the secret mantra. What are the directives in those texts? The 5 types of meat and 5 ambrosias are the food and drink of the outer feast gathering. And he's saying this means offering a feast of flesh and blood, according to the text, means offering the 5 meats considered worthy samaya substances for the secret mantrayana, different animals that are normally not killed for meat. However, this is different from sticking to concepts of clean and unclean. Such attitude, if you do that, you're making a mistake. Viewing the substances of 5 samayas of relishing as pure and impure, consuming them heedlessly, can't do that. Pure and impure. In other words, having ideas of pure and impure which transgress the samayas of relishing. So it's a different mindset, and I'm not going to go on more than that because I don't understand the tantric vehicle at all. So I have to be more trained. I hope in the next life I meet these people and I can do that. To eat them casually in the village just because you like the taste is what is meant by heedless consumption, contrary to the samayas of relishing, and is also transgression. Pure meat, therefore, does not mean the meat of an animal slaughtered for food, but the meat of an animal that died because of its own past actions, meaning meat from an animal that died of old age, sickness, or other natural causes that were the effect of its own past actions alone. The incomparable Dakpo Rinpoche said that taking the still warm flesh and blood of a freshly slaughtered animal and placing it in the mandala would make all the wisdom deities faint. There's no place for that. He's just going after, at the time, this was probably, but we don't know about these things. So we gotta pass. Just as he quotes Shantideva, just as no pleasure can bring delight to someone whose body is ablaze with fire, nor can the great compassionate ones be pleased when harm is done to sentient beings. So he talks about red offerings, etc. So we'll leave it at that. He has some very good quick advice. We'll get to that next week because it's already less time for chapter 14. Anyway, I can't recommend this book more highly. You can thumb through it. It's a good book to dip into. A lot of stories, very sophisticated practices in here from a guy who calls it as he sees it. Very, very ordinary. A lot of stories about him. Our Rinpoche liked him, Zapatrul. Well, who doesn't? Geshe Jamspol used to teach from this book from time to time. Wonderful man. I think he's in Taiwan. No, where is he? Thailand. Somewhere. Okay. We'll pick up where we left off last week on page 205. We were discussing what's validly conventional and what's not, etc. Basically like that. We have to know these things to train our minds. This is the gateway to emptiness where everything changes. And we have to load up now on this knowledge. So we're talking about distorted conceptual consciousness and valid ones. They're all wrong because they see inherent existence. However, you see a mirage and think it's water. That's wrong when somebody says, no water there, go here. That's all. That's what we're talking about. From the point of view of the ultimate, however, second paragraph, page 205, of Geshe Sopa's Steps on the Path to Enlightenment. There's no differentiation because distorted and correct convention are between them because neither of them exists ultimately. Distorted, correct, nothing exists ultimately. When you're thinking in that mode, that's all. But who walks around thinking in that mode? There is no ultimate existence of the aggregates held wrongly as permanent, pleasant, pure, and possessing itself. And there's no ultimate existence of the aggregates held correctly as impermanent. Suffering is. So that's it. Buddha taught that if we grasp the aggregates in any of those 8 ways, permanent or impermanent, pleasant or miserable, pure or impure, self-existent or selfless, then we are employing signs, a technical term now. Signs of this, signs of that. Not, hoping for business. Which is completely wrong. Employing signs, here's the definition, means holding things that are not truly existent to be truly existent. In other words, existing as they appear when they really don't exist the way they appear to a smart mind. This is fundamentally the wrong way to hold things. If we hold things to be ultimately, inherently, or truly existent, we are employing signs. You're an employer. You're employing signs. There are many passages in the scriptures that advise things are not permanent nor impermanent, not pleasurable, not miserable. You should not view things in any of those ways. The Heart Sutra runs through all of those things. Conventional truths exist conventionally. Oh, yeah? What does that mean? Oh. What we're going to do now, this is coming from, if you've forgotten, we read this chapter, the original, the root text, the LAM Rim. But this is refers to pages 181, 182, 183 of the LAM Rim text. So that's what's being explained now. So the passage in the root text were kind of hard to understand. He's breaking them out and being giving more verbiage. It helps. And he's very, down to earth, Geshe Sopa is. Conventional truths exist conventionally. Let's hear it. Someone might argue that it's contradictory to disprove the way things are held by ignorance, which superimposes an inherent nature on them, and not to disprove conventional things. Yeah, all right. Why don't you disprove conventional things too? And he quotes Chandrakirti's Madhyamaka. Ignorance obscures all because it conceals true nature. Owing to it, anything fabricated appears to be true. The Muni, Buddha in other words, declared this to be conventional truth and fabricated things to be conventionally existent. And Geshe Sopa comments now, ignorance, as we've seen, is the root mental affliction that distortedly grasps things to be truly existent. Inherently existent, you use that as a synonym. When it arises, it deposits imprints in the mind stream that cause things to appear truly existent. It puts imprints there that cause your perceptions to say, oh, it exists as it appears. Oh, how nice. Wrong. These imprints are known as non-afflictive ignorance. Why? Even though they are not actually ignorance, both types of so-called ignorance, afflictive and non-afflictive, obstruct any direct seeing of ultimate reality, which is indicated by the Tibetan term kunzab, the total obscura. The first syllable kun means all, and in this context refers to the ultimate nature of all phenomena. Zab means obscure or conceal, cover, in other words, which refers to the obstructions that conceals the ultimate nature. Thus, owing to the power of ignorance, fabricated things appear to exist in a way that they do not exist because of our ignorance deep down in our minds. Everything's corrupted, the visual conscious, etc. Well, we work with this. The term fabricated has two meanings, of course. You can't get away with something simple. One, created by causes and conditions, and false. Owing to the power of ignorance and its imprints, things left over by, or habit patterns left over, better one. Ignorance causes these habit patterns of perception and thinking. Owing to the power of ignorance and its imprints, things appear to be truly existent. This is a false appearance. Okay. However, because things appear to be true from the perspective of mind affected by ignorance, Buddha declared them to be true for the total obscura. Within the obscured world, they're true in their own category. Okay? That's it. This is conventional truth. Have a seat. Relax. This is conventional truth. Nice to meet you. He also declared them to be conventionally existent. Remember, don't forget, bing, according to the Prasangika system, if something exists conventionally, that is sufficient for it to exist. Okay, that's enough. In contrast, if something does not exist ultimately, that is not sufficient for it to not exist. It doesn't exist ultimately because nothing exists ultimately. Okay? That is not a condition for it to be non-existent. So you can't use ultimate. What they're doing in this chapter is using a technique of ultimate existence to even throw out the conventional. For something to exist, it does not need to exist ultimately. The world's happy with that, okay? Indeed, it cannot exist ultimately. Nothing does. Oh, all right. Why did you wake me up? In general, existent means conventionally existent, and non-existent means not conventionally existent. It does not mean not ultimately existent. The opponent is trying to demonstrate that there is a contradiction in saying that conventional truth exists conventionally. He quotes Chandrakirti to show that things such as forms, sounds, and etc. are conventional truths owing to the power of ignorance. Oh, so if they're there for the power of ignorance, he's implying that this kind of truth, conventional truth, is false. Ignorance is distorted and cannot establish existent things. In contrast, what exists conventionally actually exists in that it is not negated by valid reasoning. Yes, valid conventional reasoning is fine. Tsong-kha-pa says that there's no logical fault because the meaning of true in the context of forms, sounds, and so on are true for the total obscure, true for an obscured mind within that ballpark, or whatever you want to call it, within that venue, mental venue. It's simply that they are true owing to the power of thought. Such thought can only refer to the grasping at true existence. So conventional things are true from the perspective of ignorance that superimposes an inherent nature on things. True from that point of view. And we walk around with that and get by in life. And also use the conventional reality, go beyond it. So, however, although they are true for the total obscura, that does not mean that they are true. What is generally true is emptiness or shunyata. Any conventional truth is false, ultimate truth is true. So in this particular context, the term true refers only to what is true from the perspective of a mind obscured by ignorance. That's all. These people call it true, common sense. Great. Have fun. We're going to talk to you later. Okay? That is conventional truth and is just conventional existence. Kamala Shila's Illumination of the Middle Way says, all things that are false entity due to the power of thought are just conventionally existent. That's all. He's happy with that, and we should be too. He's Kamala Shila, and we're not. No. It is commonly accepted on page 207 now, if you're keeping score. It is commonly accepted that when Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha arhats achieve their respective final goals, they're arhats, they're out of samsara, they're not full Buddhas, they have totally eliminated ignorance, the afflictive mind that obscures liberation. They're liberated from samsara. Likewise, according to the Prasangika system, afflictive ignorance is totally eliminated upon entering the eighth ground of the Mahayana path. The pure starts the pure grounds of the 10 Mahayana grounds. Afflictive ignorance is absent from the eighth bodhisattva level up to Buddhahood. 8, 9, 10, Buddha. That's how it goes. In terms of this absence of ignorance, bodhisattvas on the eighth level and above are equal to Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha Arhats. They outshine them, however, by means of their compassion. As Chandrakirti explains in his commentary on the introduction to the Middle Way, these three types of beings see conventional appearances. They see them as fabricated. They see them as why? As fabricated natures, not as true, because they have no grasping at manifest things as true. Oh, these are appearing to me, but hey, you can't fool me. I know these things. Like the magician knows that the thing everybody's frightened over or attracted to is a false appearance that he's created. He sees it, but he's not fooled by it. You may wonder, the second paragraph, what are the bodhisattvas in the 8th, 9th, and 10th grounds doing? Going to Starbucks? What are they doing? Mind your business. They are abandoning non-afflictive ignorance. Oh. The bodhisattvas he's talking about. The arhats, that's it. For them, I'm done. But they're abandoning non-afflictive ignorance, the imprints that obstruct omniscience. As long as these appearances are coming in, omniscience is blocked. You're occupied with them. You got to get rid of them. You don't believe in them and everything, but it's blocking your omniscience. And block your omniscience, you're blocking your arrival at Buddhahood. That's all. Although these bodhisattvas have already abandoned afflictive ignorance, they need to get rid of the subtle imprints left by ignorance. I mean, it's subtle imprints. I'm not subtle in anything. I never see. Anyway, these imprints are an obstructing force called ignorance, marikpa, ignorance, even though they are not consciousnesses. They are predispositions that give rise to the subtle appearance of things as inherently existent, the habit patterns of seeing inherent existence. Even now, you have certain habit patterns. For instance, New York City, a lot of escalators. So you get on an escalator and it's not working, but you suddenly think that it is. Where's the motion, the habit pattern? Well, we're seeing an escalator and getting ready to move. Or you come to a new house, etc., and you're still reaching for your keys and putting in the wrong place because your old door was different from this, things like that. Habit patterns have that kind of sway on us. So they have to get rid of the subtle. These imprints are obstructing a force because ignorance causes them. They are predispositions that give rise to a subtle appearance of things as inherently existent. Subtle appearance, not hard, like we see. This kind of obscuration is a potentiality that generates a false effect and hinders correct perception. These imprints and the false appearances they give rise to are called obstructions to omniscience. That's all. Chandrakirti said both types of arhats, as well as bodhisattvas on the three pure levels, no longer experience any incorrect grasping at things as inherently existent. They do not have the slightest doubt that things are not inherently existent. During their post-meditative periods, they naturally and spontaneously recognize that everything has an illusion-like nature because they have completely removed the afflictive ignorance grasping at true existence. Yet, when they are not meditating directly on emptiness, things still appear inherently existent to them. They're not fooled by it. And we're saying the same thing, but you got to burn it in. Even while knowing that things do not exist that way, they are subjected to the appearance of things being inherently existent because non-afflictive ignorance is present in their mind stream. Those habit patterns are still operating. They got to be slowly gotten rid of. Arhats and bodhisattvas on the 8th ground and above clearly know that all appearances of conventional phenomena are in the nature of fabrications. They recognize that phenomena are not truly existent, but are like delusions, as the press says. Therefore, appearing things are said to be mere conventionalities for them. Forms and so on are held to be true only from the point of view of ignorance. However, forms and phenomena are not established by ignorance. Subtle point. They appear to be true because of the power of ignorance, but they're not established by ignorance. Suppose, for example, someone sees a coiled rope as a snake. Here we go again, the famous coiled rope. Although, from the point of view of that distorted consciousness, the piece of rope is a snake, the rope is not established by that consciousness. That's what that means, that statement. Ignorance cannot establish anything as existent because it is an utterly wrong consciousness. Forms and so on are true from the perspective of a mind influenced by ignorance, the total obscura. Apart from that, these things are false. One more paragraph. So how do we establish the existence of conventional things? A conventional thing is established by a conventional valid consciousness. A conventional valid consciousness is any of the six consciousnesses, eye, ears, etc., unaffected by temporary causes of error. The objects established by those correct six consciousnesses are conventionally existent. They exist through the power of thought and terminology. Thought and terminology. According to the Prasangika system, everything that exists in the world is nominally existence because it is merely imputed by thought and terminology. There is nothing that exists solely by way of its own nature. However, ignorance superimposes an inherent nature on things. This inherent nature does not exist conventionally or nominally. Any object held by ignorance does not exist even conventionally in the way that it is held. So valid reasoning can negate this held object. If what is held by ignorance, inherent existence, were not negated by reasoning, then we would not conventionally show things. We could not conventionally show things that things have an illusion-like nature. In other words, you can't use logic because. And remember, don't forget, even Buddha doesn't see inherent existence because it doesn't exist. Only ignorance makes us think it exists. And we would have to conclude that things exist that they are held by ignorance, and so must be truly or ultimately existent. So we'll leave it like that. So it's going on every day in our minds. It's not something strange, although it sounds like that when you do the readout of it. But that's what's going on. For whom will we pray? I understand Matthew Ricard's mom. I forgot her name. Jane mentioned it. Matthew Ricard has been a big contributor to our classes all the time. I love the guy. His mother's a famous painter. His father was a philosopher. Oh, her name is Yann Le Tomoulin. I can't pronounce French. I always get laughed at. But that's all right. Except in Canada, where they work with you, and Louisiana. But in Paris, forget it. Okay, so Susha, the record of the Noble Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those along with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He's completely liberated from extreme torment. He's liberated from craving. He's crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavat who arise in the past, present, future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the Great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. the protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. Pardon me for 1 second. I'm getting horse-lipped here. Merci. Merci beaucoup. Good fudge. Prayer for the flourishing J. Tsong-kha-pa's teachers as recommended by His Holiness as a cause for the quick return of Rato Chungla Rinpoche. On the website, of course. Though he's the father, producer of all conquerors, as a conqueror's son, he produced the thought of upholding the conqueror's Dharma in infinite world. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. When of yore in the presence of Buddha Indraketu, he made his vow, the conqueror and his offspring praised his powerful courage. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. That the lineage of pure view and conduct might spread, he offered a white crystal rosary to the sage, who gave him a conch and prophesied. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. His pure view free of eternity or destruction, his pure meditation cleansed of dark, fading, and fog, his pure conduct practiced according to the conqueror's orders, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Learn, since he extensively sought out learning, reverent, rightly applying it to himself. Good, dedicating all for beings in the doctrine, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Through being sure that all scriptures definitive and interpretive are without contradiction and advice for one person's practice, he stopped all misconduct. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Listening to explanation of the three Pitakas, realized teachings, practice of the three trainings, his skilled and accomplished life story is amazing. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Outwardly calmed and subdued by the hearer's conduct, inwardly trusting in the two stages practice, he allied without clash the good paths of Sutra and Tantra. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Combining voidness explained as the causal vehicle with great bliss achieved by method, the effect vehicle, heart essence of 80,000 Dharma bundles, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. By the power of the ocean of oath-bound doctrine protectors, like the main guardians of the three beings' paths, the quick-acting Lord, Vaishravana, Karma Yama, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. In short, by the lasting of glorious Gurus' lives, by the earth being full of good, learned, reverend holders of the teaching, and by the increase of power of its patrons, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. And now, as always, we do 8 verses for training the mind, and pay attention also to the last line, is last verse where it says, all phenomena like illusions. Oh yeah. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. So we listened to Zapatro Rinpoche's presentation, how to develop compassion, etc. Our sister Maya is getting a biopsy tomorrow. Please pray for her. Lori Rankin has health problems. Please pray for her. And do, as Zapatro said, imagine yourself in that position. and try to take their sufferings to yourself, if you can. You know, I remember walking around the hospital with Rinpoche, Chungla Rinpoche, and he would always point out people sick, and there's, oh, terrible. And then he put in, what are we going to get? Suffering's inevitable. So we can imagine the suffering, but we're going to have it, learn it firsthand ourselves. It's what happens in this life. You get sick. So, dear Sister Maya, we're with you. Don't hesitate to think 1 second that we're not. So there. And I'm sure all the lamas are with you too. Anyway, our next class will be the 15th, Monday night, the 15th. There's no Tara this weekend. It's at 7 o'clock, and we'll continue with Zapatru Rinpoche and the LAM Rim. So we get the both insight and method in one class. So thank you very much for your patient listening. Big love to all of you.